Nyame maso Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. It is yet another day, a new day, a bright Sunday, a day that the Lord has made, that we should all be glad and rejoice in it. You wouldn't like this day. Which other day would you prefer? Today, yet is another episode from Richmond Media coming to your doorsteps from the beginning. Life experience that will help shape yours in case you are stuck in life that you don't know what to do. Today is also a different dimension altogether, and we are privileged to have an engineer with us. It takes long and hard work to become engineer. This afternoon, we have at the studio with me brother Amadu Ben Mahmoud. Brother Ben, you're welcome. Adamu, rather, you're welcome to Richmond Media.
Thank you very much. You got the name right, but it's Adamu, yes. But usually people would call me Mohammed or Hammond or something else. But you got it on point. Thank you, and I'm happy to be here.
We are blessed to have you on our platform.
Hmm.
So many people are watching us from all over the world. We don't know where each and everyone is watching us from, but wherever they are, the most important is the message that they are getting from us this afternoon at Richmond Media. Um, who is Brother Ben, Brother Adamu, Brother Muhammad, Brother Hammond? You know, whichever way that
Yes,
someone will put it. You are the
yes.
best one to tell us who or who composes all these names. Please, the
Thank
platform
you
is
very
yours.
much.
You're
Thank
welcome.
you very much. My name is Adamu Ben Mahmoud, like you rightly said. I am an electrical engineer by profession. I currently work as the utilities manager for an urban developer, a private urban developer based in Accra, known as Apollonia City. And Apollonia City belongs to a bigger body known as Rendeva. Rendeva is developing private cities in 5 African countries, including Ghana. Um, so yes, I am an electrical engineer by profession, like I said. I've been in the practice since 2008 when I passed out from Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology. Um, and I started my life, my working life, first of all, with the Electricity Company of Ghana. I worked in the network projects division, particularly in the rural projects directorate of the company. Stayed worked there for a period of 10 years until I moved onto Apollonia City from 2018, and that is where I've been plying my trade since.
Thank you so much. Before you finish Kwame Nkrumah
Hmm,
University of Science and Technology,
yes.
where were you? Where did life begin from?
Right. Okay.
Which
So
soil were you born on? Then you start from there. That's what I want to know, please.
very well, very well. So I was born in Accra, specifically Kulebu Teaching Hospital, on a bright 7th of June, Friday morning. Started my early childhood education at Achimota Primary School, where I did my nursery and primary education. And in JSS, I moved on to a private school in Tema, known as SOS Hema Minor International School. And for secondary education, I went back to Achimota School and read general science in Achimota School. Finished my secondary school education in 2003. Went on into the university in 2004, and I finished like I said earlier in 2008, where reading electrical engineering. I think that I've been lucky. My parents invested quite heavily in my education, in my upbringing, and it's one of the reasons that I am where I am today.
Thank you so much. It's good to have you on the platform. So you are, I would say that you are a Ga from where you were born. Yes.
my relatives in Adanse Fomena, where I come from, will not be happy. I was
Okay,
born, I
okay,
was
from
born in
from
Accra, so I am yes,
okay, from Mina. Okay, okay.
yes,
Then I'm not trying to take your boy away from you, mom and dad, from Mina, where we can get some gold from there as well. So
exactly,
I will
exactly.
just leave it hang up in the air there, and then we continue our conversation. Yeah, looking at the profile that you have tells me that indeed you have really passed through some kind of levels that someone might not have had that opportunity to do the same. So,
Mhm.
telling us this will also help someone who wants to be like you. So then, how difficult has it been from childhood till now? I don't know if your one was just some people get it on the silver platter. Fine. Some of them will come to the medium size. Some of them are just at the background looking at what is going on in the world. But we don't know. Maybe you might have encountered something that will help someone to understand your background well.
Right. Okay. So like I said, I am the last of five of my parents' five children. Um, my parents were both teachers. My dad, a secondary school geography teacher, and my mom was a nursery school teacher in Achimota Nursery School. And you know the condition of teachers in our dear country, Ghana. They're not the best paid or the wealthiest of people. But I would say that, in all honesty, my childhood wasn't a very difficult one. There were times where the family struggled. My dad, at some point, my parents at some point lived and worked in Nigeria, and when all aliens in Nigeria were asked to leave, they came back to Ghana, and that is when I was born. So a lot of my siblings, had their early childhood in Nigeria, but I was born in Ghana and I was raised completely in Ghana. Um, I think that my parents, even though we're not the wealthiest of people, like I've said, they invested a lot in our education. Being teachers, they saw how important education was, and they made sure that they could they took us to the best schools that they could afford. Um, my mom, from the very beginning, being an early childhood teacher, taught me how to read from a very early age. I think by the time I finished nursery school, I was already reading. When I went into primary school and started, my more difficult education, my father took over. He wasn't a math teacher or anything, but he gave us the foundations in math and in science and in English, and that's proved very pivotal in our progress. Um, by the time I got to the university, both parents had retired. Um, However, because, like I said, I was the last of the five children, my older siblings took over, taking care of me through the university. So I was fortunate. I was fortunate. I think that my parents did the best they could to make our lives easier than they had it. My dad had to take care of himself and learn privately through secondary school. He didn't have formal secondary education. He learned on his own and wrote exams and passed into the university. Um, but we had it differently. We lived with our parents throughout, and they took care of us through our education, and all we had to do was to apply ourselves to the studies that we were undertaking. And God being so good, I think that myself and all my siblings are doing quite well under the circumstances.
Thank you so much. Yeah, you're telling me you have just been fortunate from one person to the other. So there hasn't been any much difficulties. You might have your own way of describing your own difficulties. A
Yes.
utility manager and
Mhm.
engineer.
Yeah.
How is life for you in Ghana?
Right. So as utility manager, what I take care of, or the part of the business that I look after, is the provision of reliable utilities, power, water, and internet to our residents within the city that we are developing. Um, how well, so life in Ghana generally has been, it's not, Ghana really isn't the place that, the ideal place to practice any profession. Being a third world country, we have our own troubles. And so a lot of my mates after secondary school or after university left the shores of Ghana and are practicing their engineering or making their livelihoods outside the shores of Ghana, particularly in the UK and in the US. Um, Primarily because there isn't a lot of opportunity in Ghana for graduates. Graduate unemployment, as you may know, it is very, very high, sitting currently at some 30% as a nation. So engineering in Ghana has been fulfilling. Being an underdeveloped country, one of the good things it does for engineers is that there's a lot of work to be done, and there's a lot of development to undertake for the nation. There are a lot of things that we need to do to be comparable with the more developed worlds like the US and the UK and other Western countries. So there's a lot of work to do. Our most challenging difficulty, I would say, is access to funds to do the things that we know we have to do. And financing is one of the biggest challenges that there is, in practicing engineering in Ghana.
Thank you so much. Our brother Akon George is with us. He says, "Good afternoon, nice program. Watching you live from Ghana in the Volta region." Thank you, brother Akon, for your time and everything with us. Brother George Osibequin says, "Lovely introduction. Just that you couldn't get electricity in my hometown, Bragofi." So, Bragovi, you have to make a note of that. Be
I
sure
will
that
certainly do
to
so.
make sure that you get electricity to
Yeah.
our hometown, which is called Seko City, Sechedumase. Yes,
Oh,
yes,
a
heard
very
of
good
it.
friend of mine, a Catholic priest, Francis Otimbewa, is from Central Dumasi, so I've been there a lot of times.
Oh, really? You
Yes,
don't
yes, yes,
worry.
yes.
If I say we have to base our conversation on this platform today, my
Yes,
boss will not be happy with me. But when we finish,
we'll
we will
stick to
have
the
a
topic.
chat.
We'll stick to the
Seco
topic. Yes.
City. Oh, what's up? Thank you. Let's move on. So, being based in Ghana, as you have explained it to us,
Mhm.
are you able to achieve your set targets at all?
Um, I won't say, I'm able to achieve all targets 100%. Like I said, we have a lot of limitations, practicing engineering in Ghana, finances being the biggest of the limitations, and sometimes even the political will from the powers that be, to do what is engineering wise and what is ideal in an engineering world. I'll give you an example. When I was in ECG, like I said, I was working with the rural electrification department, and one thing electricity doesn't like is to stretch lines over long distances. But the politicians won't listen to that. They want to get the electricity to the farthest corner so that they can get their votes at the end of the day. So number one, the biggest challenge is finances. However, I think that we've done quite well as a nation. We've been able to thus far prioritize the works that have to be done, and made compromises on what cannot be done. So even though we may not 100% all the time achieve the targets that we set for ourselves, and we are able to find workable solutions around them so that all stakeholders in the work that we do are satisfied. Currently, I work with a private firm, with some good support from the shareholders. And so I won't necessarily say that within Apollonia City or in my current role, finances, are a problem. It is really a matter of the fact that a lot of the things that we need to work in Ghana are not manufactured in Ghana, and so you have to, depend on original equipment manufacturers that are outside the shores of Ghana, and then you have to deal with the delays of shipment and logistics, and these problems have also been compounded by COVID. Since COVID started, um, the logistics and shipping world have been hit greatly, and so it takes a much longer time to receive your imports when you make purchases outside the shores of Ghana. So yes, we try to find workarounds around it, and to make sure that everybody is satisfied, or everybody gets what is their due.
Thank you so much, Brother Ben, for what you are giving us this afternoon. Our brother George Osubekin he was laughing and showed it here. Ha ha ha, interesting. And then Sister Becca Upon says, oh, wow, such a great profile engineer. So you know what, our viewers really admire you so much. So to our viewers, please don't forget to share this program to your friends and family, and don't forget to like it, subscribe it, so that the program will always be available for yourself and mine as well, so that together we will benefit from our guests. Today's guest is Mr. Adamu Ben Mahmoud. Brother Ben,
Yes, madam.
um, I know it has not been that easy coming to this far. Though, looking at what you have explained to us, life has not been so difficult for you. But no matter how smooth or difficult life becomes, there is always someone behind you that has sustained you up to this point. So, could you please tell us who has been your greatest inspiration and your motivator as well in your life?
Right. Thank you very much. I think that I've had different motivations and different inspirations growing up. When I was growing up, before I started a family of my own, my mother was my biggest inspiration. She would always see the progress we were making in life, and she would always beam with smiles and encourage on to do better. So my mother has been my biggest inspiration. Unfortunately, our Lord called her to His bosom some 3 years ago. And but since I started a family of my own, my two daughters, my two daughters have spurred me on. I want to be able to give them the life that children should have. I want to be able to give them a comfortable life, provide their needs, and raise them the way they should be raised. I consider them gifts from God, and so from as gifts that God has given us, it is our responsibility to give them very comfortable lives. I think that growing up, since I started work too, I have been fortunate to meet some very, very hardworking, very fulfilled senior engineers in my life who have shaped my career. Case in point is a person in the name of Samuel Ajijonu. Samuel Ajijonu was the head of the Rural Projects Department when I entered ECG. He rose to the rank of Deputy Managing Director of ECG and went on retirement only in April. He's been a great inspiration for me. He had a more difficult background than I did. He had some challenges in his life, but he overcame all of those, and had a very, very successful engineering career. After him, I worked with a lady known as Enyona Pekpena. Enyona Pekpena is currently a manager in the IT department of ECG, and she's the president of the Women in Engineering Ghana. It's a wing of the Ghana Institution of Engineers. She's very recently completed her PhD in engineering, and so she's Engineer Dr. Enyona Pekpena. If
Wow.
she comes across this video, a very good afternoon to her. and she's been a great source of inspiration for me. A very, very warm woman. Usually when women are bosses, they lord it over you. But
Yeah.
Mrs. Pepena has been a great source of inspiration and encouragement, and I'm very grateful to the people that God has brought my way in my development.
Thank you so much, Mrs. to your mom and to the boss who just retired in
Engineer
April.
Jitoni, yes,
Congratulations to him. And to Mrs. Pepena, I greet
yes,
you this afternoon because when I see a woman coming out with PhD, I really admire those
yes, yes,
women. You
yes.
know, yeah, it's not that many in the system. So therefore, I do congratulate you this afternoon
Mm-hmm.
for your
Mm-hmm.
hard work. Yeah. You mentioned of your two girls that has been behind you. In this case, how
Mm.
do you balance family life together with your profession?
Right. That is an interesting question. When you are zealous about your work and you want to achieve greater heights, you tend to you tend to pay a lot of attention, to your work, sometimes to the detriment of the family that you have, um, because you want to achieve greater laurels and all of that. Um, I think for me, and like I mentioned, Mr. Engineer Jijonu a while back, when I was getting married, Mr. Jijonu had a conversation with me and gave me an advice which I have carried along since. He said, whenever you go home, leave the work at the gate. And when you enter, it must be all about your family. I have carried that message along with me. I have tried to do that as much as is possible. But when you're in an engineering field, emergencies may come up every now and then. And so you have to put everything else aside and go and attend to it. But as much as possible, when I am home, I stay away from work so I can give, my children the attention they need. Like I said, my parents, helped with our education a lot. Whilst my mom taught us how to read, my dad introduced us at a very early stage to math and science and English, and made school easy for us. And so I think that it is also, my responsibility to make it as easy for my children as my parents did for me. And so yes, when I get into the house, it is my children and no work. Um, it's a fine balance you have to maintain. It's a fine balance you have to maintain. Sometimes you have to work late hours before you come home and all of that. So what I have purposed in my heart to do is that Sundays at the least, I spend it together with my kids, and we do all the things that I miss out on during the week. Have conversations with them, see what is going on in their life and what have you. It's a really fine balance. I won't say that I have mastered it. I am still learning on the job.
Thank you so much, sir. We salute you. We admire you and we recognize you for your good work that you are doing for our family back home. And I'm sure you will go to my town, Dumasi, to put up the light that you have not fixed for them, as my brother has requested. Um, you made mention of the COVID that has
Hmm.
changed things in life.
Yeah.
Looking at your profession, how do you think COVID-19 has made either positive or negative impacts in your life compared to the life that you were leading before COVID?
Right. Thank you very much for that question. For engineering, engineering is field based. It is hands on. Unfortunately, in engineering, you very hardly get to work from home, which has now become the new normal. A lot of people, working from home and all of that. But for engineering is really hands on. Has to be done on the site or in the field. And so for us, there hasn't been much change. What I would say is the impact of COVID on some of the supplies that we need to carry out our jobs. Like I said, In Ghana, a lot of the things that we use in electrical engineering or power distribution, specifically where I work, are not manufactured in Ghana. And so we depend very heavily on imports and shipping lines to get the supplies we need to carry out the projects that we want to do. One of the biggest impacts of COVID-19 has been that um, we have very significant delays now in the production of the cables and transformers that we need to work. And even when they are produced, it takes a much longer time now to get your supplies to to come to Ghana. One of the things that we are doing, to mitigate the challenges that we face currently, is to plan ahead of time. And so that if you know that you need, these supplies, say in December, you probably start working on the orders now, so that by December, when you actually need it, you have it in the country. So yes, COVID has impacted us a lot. Again, COVID has impacted negatively the financial abilities of the nation Ghana of Ghana as a country, and of a lot of individuals who have to buy our products and our services. There's been a big impact on that in that front. And so business has slowed down considerably. It's not as busy as it used to be. But thankfully, COVID is behind us now, and business is picking up gradually. We hope that the improvements we are seeing now will continue, so that life can return to what it was some time back.
Thank you so much, brother, and God bless you for what you have given us. If someone is listening to us, what are some of your accomplishments as an engineer? Something that you think is particular or peculiar that you have done so far?
Right. Okay. Um, I think one of the things that brings me joy as an engineer is driving around rural areas in Ghana and seeing communities to which you have extended electricity and the impact it has had on the lives of the people that live in the community. And so when I was in ECG, one of the first projects that I did was what we call JEDAP. JEDAP was a World Bank funded rural electrification project. And we extended electricity to over 200 communities in the southern sector of Ghana, particularly Greater Accra Central Region and Volta Region. Those three regions were the regions where I was directly in charge of as project engineer. And what brings me joy now is how these communities have developed after we extended electricity to them, and how it has impacted the lives of the people that live there. I, as an engineer, I always measured success in being able to complete your projects in time and according to budget. But when you work with the World Bank, they give you better perspective to all the things that they finance. So they sent a gender officer from the World Bank to carry out an inspection and do an impact assessment of the projects that they have financed, particularly how those projects have impacted women. And I am happy to report that when we went to communities in the central region, the impact was telling. Their lives had become easier. Every day having to do a lot of the things that they were doing manually, like mailing corn and farm produce and all of that had become very easier. And so the difference it had brought to the lives of the individuals was very impactful. After JEDAP, the World Bank Finance Project, we went on to do what we call the Wealthy Lamont Project. Wealthy Lamont was financed by the United States government, some $350 million loan that was given to Ghana to do work in the central and in the western region. That also was rural electrification, and it sent me around, to the hinterlands of those two regions, extended electricity to people who hitherto didn't have electricity. I think that the biggest achievements I would say is not necessarily the success in the projects in terms of completing it in time and within budget. It, I take more pride in the fact that I have impacted people's lives. I have helped to make their lives easier, and it is a very fulfilling and a very satisfying thing to see.
Oh, thank you so much, brother. May God richly bless you. As
Thank you very
how
much.
far you have brought us, please, um, forgive me. Please, if anyone is watching us this afternoon, sorry for any interruption that has occurred. But at the moment, I would like you to know that Richmond Media acknowledges you very much. The fact that you are spending your time with us this afternoon, we really appreciate you. And we say thank you so much. But don't forget to subscribe, to share. Let your family members, everyone know that indeed we have good news here. Life experience. It's not everyone that will be willing to come and sit here and share their life experiences that will help to inspire, especially the youth of today, that they think everything that your hand touches instantly it has to produce money, whether it has to be or not. But life is a process. That is why we are here this afternoon for you, bringing to your doorstep from Richmond Media. So please, if you are here with us and you haven't sent us a comment, let us acknowledge you by sending us a comment. Beforehand, there is this company, a money transfer company that sends money to Ghana, and it's OAP. OAP, as soon as you give it, we send it to your family members. Is it for school fees? Is it for light bills? As is it for utility bills that the boss is here that they want us to pay them so that so that they can give us light to survive. If that's the case and you have to send money instantly to Ghana, please, I recommend OAP to you. Help us. Send money to Ghana. As soon as you give the money to us, instantly we will send it to your family members. So please continue to stay tuned with us and you will be blessed by the end of the program. Brother, if someone wants to be like you, wants to be an engineer, wants to be a utility manager, how far you are, what are some of the courses that you would recommend for such
Mm.
people, please?
Okay, all right. Thank you very much. I think I'll answer the answer that I'll be giving to this question will be based a lot on the Ghanaian curriculum or Ghanaian educational system as I know it, because all of my education has been in Ghana, and so that is what I can speak to. I think I'll start from JSS level or from the junior secondary school level. Courses like technical skills, technical drawing, science and math should be of pri- importance to anybody who wants to read engineering. Engineering is really science, and so technical skills, science and mathematics, very very important. And then when you make it to secondary school, you necessarily have to read general science, particularly physics, chemistry, and elective mathematics. Um, there are some people, depending on the secondary school that you go to, you may do a fourth course, which would either be biology or geography or agric or any other. But the most important thing is physics and mathematics for an engineer. Those are key. And then your choice of university, if you are in Ghana, it would have to be Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology is Ghana's premier science and engineering and technology university. In recent times, we've got University of Energy and Natural Resources in Sunyani that has come up, and they too offer engineering courses. or you can go to the University of Mines in Takwa. Um, or now some private universities across Ghana are also offering engineering. So I think that for anybody who wants to do engineering, science is key. Physics, mathematics, and chemistry should be of prime concern to anybody that wants to read engineering.
Thank you so much. There is a question here from our brother George Owusubeku. Queen says, "Oh, have you climbed the electricity poles in your engineering profession, please?"
um, well, yes, I have. Particularly, I have. In myself, I have done that. So, one of the biggest mistakes that we make, as a people is anybody that is doing work with their hands, we consider the person an engineer. But engineers could do design, engineers could do management, engineers could do a lot of other things rather than just the construction. Um, but if you can't do any engineering course properly without practical attachment. And when I was in KNU, when I was in tech, I got the opportunity to do attachment in a number of firms. And I was doing the attachments that I was required to climb an electricity pole. It looks scary from the ground when when you're not the one climbing. You see people working up in the air like that. It can get very scary, but you get used to it, and with time it becomes easy for you to do. And then there are safety equipment that you would use also, which would ensure that you don't fall or anything from those sides. I in particular I am scared of heights. I don't like going up, climbing up things, but my job requires me to do so. So I do that. And but now I have shifted away from construction more to management. And so now you will not necessarily find me climbing electricity poles.
That is good news to hear. So, brother, in every work, as you grow, you know what happened, then you get the opportunity
To
to be
progress.
where you want to be, but you start from
Exactly.
climbing the poles before you descend down to office area. So,
Exactly.
brother George,
You need to understand what it takes to be in the field to be able to manage those people properly. If you've only stayed in the office, you won't understand what it takes to do the work that they do. And so when they have complaints or when they have needs, it will be difficult for you as a manager to assist them in achieving their targets.
we thank God for that. You've given us everything, but there's one particular question that's very important to this program that I
Mm,
have not asked.
yes,
Is who is an engineer?
absolutely. Absolutely. Who is an engineer? Let me begin with a very academic answer, and then I would break it down and explain for all of us to understand in layman's language. So when you asked, Wikipedia would define an engineer as a professional who invents, designs, analyzes, builds and tests machines and complex systems, structures and materials, or an engineers applying scientific and mathematical principles to solve everyday problems and fulfill functional objectives and requirements. Simply to break this down, all this is saying gives us an idea to the different fields or different aspects of engineering that there are. So there are those that we would call, like the definition says, professionals who design, analyze, and build. There are those engineers that we would call design engineers. What they would do is sit behind a computer, identify a problem, and use engineering software to proffer solutions or suggest solutions to the everyday problems that we have in life. So, like our listener George Bequin said, he wants electricity to circle in the Ashanti region. A design engineer will first sit down and do an assessment of the community, Setro Dumase, and do a design for electricity distribution network within Setro Dumase. Now, when the design engineer finishes, He will then give it to what we call a project engineer or a construction engineer. And that brings the second aspect of engineering into perspective. That is a professional who builds and tests complex systems. So the construction engineer will take the designs that have been done by the design engineer and go to the field and try to implement the designs that have been done. So the construction engineer will first of all cost the project and say, this is the design that I was given. To be able to do this, I will need materials A, B, C, and D. So the construction engineer will put a cost to it, the materials, and put a cost to the installation or the labor that is required to do the installation works, and then go out to site and do the actual construction works. And then there's a third part. They test complex machines. After the construction person is finished, a protection or an operations engineer will come in and test the network as have been done to be sure that it meets the safety requirements, it meets the distribution requirements or the electricity standards that have to be met. It meets all the protection and all the functional or the functionality tests that have to be passed. So an operations engineer will come and do that before the network or the machinery is commissioned. Now, when the machine is commissioned or the network is commissioned, another engineer, what we call a maintenance engineer, will come in and take over from there and do the day-to-day maintenance. So there is a problem here, a maintenance engineer will fix it. A maintenance engineer will do what we call preventive maintenance. Okay, so preventive maintenance is what the maintenance you have to do to ensure that the machine or the engineering things that you are working with do not even break down. Okay, so that is the work of the maintenance engineer. So engineering has these four aspects: the design, the construction, the test, and then the operations and maintenance of complex machinery or structures. In Ghana currently, or the world over, there are different fields of engineering. Like I said, I am an electrical engineer. So all the examples that I have given, all the things that I have spoken to today have been biased towards electrical engineering. But that is not the only engineering field that there is. There are other engineering disciplines. Case in point, there's civil engineers. There are civil engineers. Civil engineers would work with buildings, construction of roads, dams, and what have you. So civil engineers are the ones who do the buildings and the construction of roads. There's also chemical engineering, and chemical engineers would deal with materials and their composition and what these materials can be used for optimal operationalization. And then there's mechanical engineering. Mechanical engineering would deal, or mechanical engineers would deal with heavy machines, cars, factory machines, and what have you. That is their responsibility, mechanical engineering. Very recently, when Ghana discovered oil, the Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology introduced another engineering discipline. So this is quite new in Ghana. That is petroleum engineering. And petroleum engineering will deal with the extraction of oil from our oil fields, the refining of the oil into petrol and diesel that we would all need, and all the processes that have to do with turning crude oil into fuels that we need. There's another discipline in engineering known as geodetic engineering. Geodetic engineers are the ones that we call surveyors. When you see a geodetic engineering working, a lot of us will call them or refer to them as surveyors. They usually deal with, land and land and its attributes. Okay,
I think that's the field my brother is here.
Exactly, and your brother is very known to me, Isaac. He's doing very well in his chosen field too.
Oh,
So that's geodetic engineering, and then there's agric engineering, and that will deal with farm machinery. It's very similar to mechanical engineering, but they will deal specifically with farm machinery. And then there's aerospace engineering. They will deal with helicopters and airplanes and anything that flies. And last but not the least, there is telecom engineering. Now, with the advent of internet and mobile telephony, telecom engineers are the ones who take care of that kind of a business. These are not the list that I have just given is not exhaustive. This is just the major ones that are practiced or that are taught in our universities in Ghana. But when you go the world over, then you'd find people, other engineers like biomedical engineers who work on the human body. They do their engineering on the human body, and they would work in hospitals, X-ray machines, and what have you. And there's that kind of engineering too. I think Legon University of Ghana has started offering biomedical engineering, if I'm not mistaken. So some of these less known engineering disciplines are gradually being introduced into our country these days.
Thank you so much, Brother Ben. I have some few questions for you. Brother Jojo Subequin says, thank you for answering my question, and I'm glad you cope with the climate pause.
You have
Bless
to
you.
learn. You have to learn.
Thank you. And then Brother George Akon says, I really enjoyed the discussion. Thank you, Brother George. And Sister Bika Opon says, can you please give how far utilities in Apollonia have covered? I hear more of ECG than Apollonia. Hey, hey, competition is hard.
Okay. So right. In Apollonia City, what we do in Apollonia City, as far as utilities are concerned, is that we buy in bulk from the public utility companies, that is ECG and Ghana Water, and we do the distribution within Apollonia City ourselves. And so, if anybody lives in Apollonia City, they'll be dealing with me and my department, and not your everyday ECG or Ghana Water. Why Apollonia has invested or chosen to do that is to be able to invest, using private capital in the distribution infrastructure to ensure that there is reliability. And so within Apollonia cities, the provision of utilities is top notch. It's doing very well. I think that the right investment has been made in the infrastructure for distribution. And so our residents who live within Apollonia City will attest to the fact that utility provision within Apollonia City is one of the best, you find anywhere in our country, Ghana. So, Ms. Upon, to answer your question, yes, there's a great deal of work going on in Apollonia City as far as utilities are concerned.
Thank you so much. So, if someone is watching us this afternoon
Yes.
and would like to keep in touch with you, that will be connected to your company, Apollonia, how could a person go about, or how possible is it?
Oh, I maintain an open book approach. Anybody that needs to have a conversation with me can do so. I don't know if you would permit me to share my contact details. I,
That's
I won't
fine.
mind. I won't
Yeah,
mind doing it. So I
yeah.
can be reached on and since we have viewers from all over the world, let me start with the country code. Our country code in Ghana is +233 as our country code, and my number is 054 010 3390. 054 010 3390. Or you may reach me via email. My email address is abmahmood. Mahmood is MAHMOUDJR. MAHMOUDJR for junior at gmail.com. And anybody that needs to have a conversation with me can reach me via these two channels, and I'll be more than happy to mention it.
Thank you so much, brother. Sister Becca says,
I have
ha, you've been biased. I'm a chemical engineer. Thank you.
I have admitted to that. I will say what I know and not what I don't know. But yes, I admitted to other disciplines in engineering that are available, and chemical engineering is one of those fields.
Thank you so much. I think you made mention of it when you were
Yeah,
naming them. Thank you so much for your time. And I'm sure if we want to feature other engineers, you will be our channel to connect them to us so that people will know the type of profession to go for, especially when they are stuck out there. We really appreciate your time today and your commitment. You were even on the program before even I joined you. May the good Lord continue to bless you and to open all avenues that you are looking for to you. May
thank
you
you very much.
continue to grow from the utility manager to the higher level as we cannot mention.
Thank you
And
very
as we
much.
leave here, is thank you, a big thank you to you from Richmond Media. To all our viewers, Sister Becca, upon we will get you here. I'm sure you might know her. I don't know, but maybe you know her.
I'm sure
Please,
if I reach out to the Engineering Institute of Engineering, I'll find her.
okay, please find her for us.
So,
I
so you
want to
talk to her
see,
next.
yes, I want to see how biased she would also be when she gets to this platform, particularly towards her chosen field as chemical engineer.
Yes.
And to everyone that was able to make it with us today, Brother Akon, Brother George, and Sister Baker, may God continue to bless you as you always spend your time with us at Richmond Media. It's from the beginning and the same time again next week. Until then, it's bye bye for now. My name is Hannah Bimah. Thank you so much.
Bye.